Hello everyone. In this video, I will be talking about my US visa interview experience. If you want to visit US for business or for tourism, you will need to apply for B1 B2 US visa. The process for applying for B1 B2 visa is that first you fill DS 160 form and after that you schedule an appointment for your interview. The interview generally don't take long and they will ask you few questions, and depending on your answer they will assess whether they should give you visa or not, and this happens very quickly. In my case, they asked me 4 or 5 questions and within few minutes they decided that they will be giving me this visa. So this is my story how my US visa got approved. So first thing was that there was security outside. So they asked me for my passport, and then they asked me for my photo. Also they asked me like how old my photo is. So the thing is that your photo should not be older than 6 months. In my case it was 2 months old, so it was okay. After that step, I went for my security check. I was carrying my bag with all my documents. I also had my water bottle inside. So they asked me to drink my water, and once this was done, and also one more thing, I was carrying my mobile phone, I was carrying my mobile charger, and I was carrying my smartwatch. So they took deposit of all three, and then they gave me a token. So when I was done with my interview, I gave them that token and they returned back my mobile and smartwatch. So you can carry all these things, but then you will have to deposit them. So after this was done, the next step was biometrics. But before I talk about biometrics, let me talk about what documents I was carrying. Confirmation page that I got from DS160. I'll show you this confirmation page just in few seconds from now. I was also carrying an instruction page. So when you schedule your appointment, you will get this instruction page. You need to carry this instruction page and you need to carry the confirmation page. I'll show you both of them. I was also carrying my passport. Again, this is mandatory. Everyone should carry. All these three documents are mandatory. You should carry them. And I was carrying other documents also. So let me tell you this other documents. There are a lot of documents that you can carry. You can carry your bank statement. You can carry your employment letter. You can carry your pay slips. You can carry your income tax return. You can carry your itinerary. But in general, they won't ask for this document. But I carried all my documents just to be on the safe side, because they can ask for any documents if they feel like. In my case, my purpose of visit was I wanted to travel there for to attend trainings. So they asked me that do I have any letter from my employer for trainings. So I was having my letter ready, so I gave it to them. Similarly, if they have some concern about your funds, then you should have some documentation to prove it that you have sufficient fund to visit United States. Or if you are going to visit your family, they can ask you that do you have any invitation letter from them. In that case, if you are having an invitation letter ready, so that might work for you. Now, having talked about all the documents, let me talk about confirmation page from DS160. Let me show how that looks like. This is the confirmation page that I got once I fill my DS160 for B1 B2 US visa. So you need to carry this confirmation page. This will have your photo, this will have your details, and this will have your confirmation number. So other than this confirmation page, there was also one more document that you need to carry, and that is your instruction, and you will get it from one when you are making your appointment. So this is my instruction page that I got when I was making my appointment. So let me show that to you. So it will have your name, it will have your visa class, business and tourism, your passport number. Having talked about documents, now let me talk about the biometric process. Over there at biometrics, they will ask you, do you have any old passport? So I was having an old passport, I told them. Other than this, they will also, since my case, I was not giving my interview in India, but I was giving it in Nassau, Bahamas. So they asked me that, do you have any valid visa for Bahamas? I was having a legal status in Bahamas, so I told them this. Similarly, if you are an Indian and say you have a student permit or work permit in Canada, you can easily give your visa interview in that country. So I was having legal status in that country, and I gave them my document. I showed them my documents, and I showed them my passport. And after that, I gave my photo to the lady at the biometrics. And after that, she asked me for my fingerprints. I gave my fingerprints. And after my biometrics, it was time for my interview. So I went there, but there was a long queue. And while waiting, I saw a few people getting their visa approved. I also saw some of them got their visa rejected. So when my turn came, the first thing the visa officer asked me is that, can I see your passport? So I was carrying it with myself. I gave it to him. So he took a look at it. So if you remember that when he looks at your passport, he can see if you have been to multiple countries or not. The next question that the visa officer asked me is that, why are you going to US? I was going there to attend my trainings. So I told him that I'm going there to attend training organized by my employer at our New York Manhattan office. Remember, this one question is very important because by answering this question, this will set the tone for the interview. Because depending on the your answer to this question, they will ask the follow-up questions, and depending on the answer to this question, they may ask you for documents also. So remember to be specific while answering, and remember to cover most of the things, but be brief. So in my case, as you can see from my answer, I mentioned that I will be going there for training. I mentioned my employer, like I'm going there for training, not just for anybody, but for my employer. And I mentioned where I will be going. I mentioned I will be going to Manhattan office. So when I give this kind of answer that I'm going to for training for some employer, I should be having documentation for that. So I was carrying a support letter from my employer, and since I was carrying the letter, I was able to show it to him. So imagine if you are going to US for tourism purpose, if you're going to say Disneyland, and if he asks you that, do you have anything for that, you can show the visa officer your itinerary. Similarly, again, if you're going to visit your family, you can show them the invitation letter if they ask. So now let me show you how the letter from my employer looks like. So this was the letter from my employer. Let me now read out the about the temporary visit section. So Mr. will be required to attend training sessions and meetings at our other offices in the region during their employment, which will require them to travel to or through the USA. This question, why are you going to US, is very important, and I want to give some emphasis on this. Because when they ask you this question, they are essentially asking you for your purpose of visit. And your purpose of visit should be very clear. You should be clear, not just verbally, but you should have sufficient documentation for that as well. When they ask this question, they simply look for red flags. Their main concern is that you may be having an immigration intent, and also they have this concern that what if you come to US and you work without authorization. So this is their concern, that you could be a potential immigrant and you are going to permanently stay in US. So now the thing is that the duty is on you to prove to them that you are not an immigrant, you are going to US and you will return back to India. So your duty is to convince them that you don't have the intention to permanently stay. And one very important thing, you should have a reason to go back to your home country. What do I mean by having reason to go back to your home country? You should have a strong ties to your home country. If you have a strong ties to your home country, you have a reason to go back. Now, how can you prove that you have a strong ties to your home country? Say your home country is India, and if you have children there, you have a reason to go back to your home country. If you are married and you have a wife there, you have a reason to go back to your home country. If you have a job in India, if you have a bank account, if you have if you are running a business, if you have house, if you have properties in India, these things establish a strong ties to your home country, and this gives you reason that you have something to go back to your home country. So it is very important that you should have those documents that can establish your strong ties to your home country. In my case, I didn't need these documents, but I was still carrying those documents. Now that I talked about purpose of visit, so I have already discussed this, that if you want to visit Disneyland just as a tourist, you should have an itinerary. But let me emphasize on what itinerary is. So if you want to say visit Disneyland for tourism purpose, and you have bought a ticket for Disneyland, and you have booked a hotel, you have prepared a complete itinerary. So this will make your case very strong, because you know what your plans are, you know what you are going to do once you are going to be in US, and you can have a tentative plan. So you can have your flight details, like when you are going to travel and when you are going to return back to your home country, and your flight need not be confirmed. This can be a tentative plan, and that should be all right. Similarly, if you want to visit your family, invitation letter. Now let me talk about some other questions that the visa officer asked me. He asked me, how long have you been here? The follow-up question was that, what you do? So my answer was again, I am a tax accountant. Next question was that, do you have letter from your employer? The reason why I put so much emphasis on the first question regarding why I want to visit US is because, as you can see, the rest of the questions, they are the follow-up question to the answer to my first question. So depending on what is your answer to the first question, they will ask you different questions. Now let us take a different situation, that you are going to US just as a tourist. So they can ask you a follow-up question about where are you going to US, how long will you be staying in US. Other than this, they can also ask you these questions, that do you have any friends or family in US. Say if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend in US. So this could be a concern for them actually, because they might think that your boyfriend or girlfriend could file a petition for you. So they can ask you these many questions, and if you're going there for tourist, you will need a sufficient amount of money to finance your trip. They will ask you question on that as well, that do you have sufficient fund with you. And if you tell them that you are going to US to visit your family, a follow-up question could be that do you have an invitation letter from them. And a follow-up question could be again about your bank statement, do you have sufficient fund. And if you tell them that since you're going to visit your family, they will take care of your finances. Follow-up question could be that do you have any documentation to prove that. So you can have a letter written mentioning that they will take care of your finances. You can have an invitation letter from them. So these are the questions that could follow depending on your answer to that question, purpose of trip. So that is why I put so much emphasis on the first question. So finally, in the next 2 to 3 days, I received this email. So in this email, they mentioned that they have couriered my passport via DHL, and just 6 days after my visa interview, I received my passport. Having talked about my experience, I want to tell you something, and this is very important. If you want to apply for US visa, I have a video. I have made a video on how to apply for B1 B2 US visa. I am sharing the link over here. You can check this. And also I will be making one more video, and I will talk about what could be the reason for refusal for US visa. It will be in detail. Those videos are also going to be very important, and I believe you should watch that. And if you have any question, you can see my Instagram, and you can message me over there. Thank you so much.